The brand new Mario Kart pretty much confirmed that we'll be able to race with 24 total racers, which is way more than we ever had, literally doubling the amount of our normal 12. And with 24 total racers, odds are we have to have a pretty stacked lineup to have a diverse set of characters to choose for these races. So I'm thinking we'll have some actually crazy character picks this time around. So far we've seen pretty much what looks like to be a base roster, but I feel like there's a lot of secrets that's going to be shown off and a lot of special characters. So today I wanted to talk about how I think there could be over 170 different character options that Nintendo could choose from mainline games, spin-offs, and even non-Mario games itself. There's a lot of characters that I want to go over here, so let's not waste too much time. Thank you guys so much for tuning in today. Like I said, if we get a certain number of subscribers every day, I'll share with you guys one of my special moments from Switch before we move on to Switch 2. So if this video gets over 300 brand new subscribers, I'll share with you another one tomorrow. This memory comes from The Legend of Zelda Breath of the Wild, and finding Hateno Village for the first time. The music, the atmosphere, the cloudy, windy day that I found it on, it was just perfect. And man, this is one of the greatest cities or towns that I've ever explored in any game ever. It just really does feel like home, which it technically is, where Link can build his house. Well, technically take over Zelda's house. But still, it's one of those moments where you just feel peace. I'll never forget my first time finding this town, hearing that music and just talking to the villagers, going into the different shops. It's just something that you can only experience once in like 7 years, and it was a great experience and something I'll never forget, and it's hard to describe how that felt. With the windmill and tech lab at the top of the hill, it was just one of those beautiful areas that you'll never forget. If you enjoy hearing my favorite memories of Switch 1, let's see how many people we can get to subscribe to today's video. Let's try to get to around 300. But thank you guys, and on to the video. So when we discuss Mario Kart 9's roster, I will not be bringing up any Mario Kart 8 Deluxe characters, as we don't know if there will be returning, if some of them or all of them will be back. We'll be talking about either past game characters that haven't made a return in 8 Deluxe and new characters altogether. But first, let's start off with the returning characters. We have about 11 that didn't make the cut in Mario Kart 8 Deluxe, whether they be from Tour or even past games. But we have Captain Toad, which would just make sense for Toad. I think he could be an alt, but still. Chargin' Chuck, Dixie Kong to join that Kong roster, Hammer Bro, which is my personal favorite, and you could have his alts with the Boomerang Bro, Fire Bro, even Ice Bro, King Bob-omb, which is another series staple starting to be because he's been in some sports games like Mario Golf World Tour, Monty Mole, Nabbit, Donkey Kong Jr., Poochie, Rob from Mario Kart DS, and Honey Queen from Mario Kart 7. Yeah, Honey Queen was a weird one, but still, it's a character that never did make a return, and it's a weird one. But let's move on to our first batch of new characters that could come to Mario Kart 9. And these are more mainline series characters. For instance, we've never had Boo. We've had King Boo, but never Boo. Ninja is making his way up to be a mainstay, and actually still surprising that Ninja did not appear in Mario Kart 8 Deluxe at all. Rocky Wrench could be another alternative for Monty Mole, or maybe just like a straight up character alt type of thing. Spike could definitely make a debut. I'd actually put money that Spike would be in this game as another mainline enemy that's kind of making his way up the ranks for main characters. Womp and Thwomp might sound weird. They were in this weird racing mode in Mario Kart 8, and they looked very strange in that, but still, I would not hate it to be able to drive as a Womp. I think that'd be pretty cool. Thwomp, I don't know if that'd work, but Goomba, yes, if he could play baseball, he can definitely drive a kart. Come on. And the same thing goes with Blooper, who also was in Mario Super Sluggers. We could have the Penguins from the Mario series, starting back from Mario 64 and even appearing in Mario Galaxy, or Flutter, since we have Wiggler, why not have his Butterfly alternative? We could have Chimp from Mario Galaxy 2, or maybe just an Ukiki from Yoshi's Island, a Bob-omb, which is strange enough that we've never had Bob-omb himself appear in anything like this. What about Piranha Plant, who's literally in Smash Brothers, and he can play tennis, so he can definitely drive a kart. Shadow Mario could be some type of, transformation thing for Bowser Jr., but maybe just Shadow Mario the character. We also have a Pianto, or maybe even the Nokis from Mario Sunshine should definitely make a return since there's so many Sunshine references in Mario Kart in general. We also have Egad. Put my boy Elvin in the game. He definitely deserves it, and it's just one of those characters that I felt like has been deserved it. And same with Toadsworth. Even though he hasn't appeared in a lot of modern games, I would love to see Toadsworth make a return. Or maybe even El Piantissimo from Mario Sunshine. It'd be a weird stretch, but one that I wouldn't hate. Chain Chomp is also one of those characters that if he can play tennis, he can drive a kart. I feel like he can. And Luma should definitely be able to get thrown into the game instead of just be this like weird pet to Rosalina all the time like he is in Smash Brothers. Give him a kart, let him drive. Polari could also be a playable character from Mario Galaxy as a main Luma. Or what about Lubba from Mario Galaxy 2? He's a big boy, but he could fit in a kart if Queen Bee can. Guillermo is a strange character in the game and gives me PTSD from that stupid bomb the trash mission, but hey, why not put him in the race so I can absolutely destroy him with a blue shell? And then we have the Whittles from Mario Galaxy 2, which are these little tree characters, so that would also be a cool callback to that game. Since Nintendo wants to actually forget it, I doubt we'll ever see anything from Galaxy 2. Next up, most of these characters are going to be from Super Mario Odyssey, with a couple strays in there, but we have Madame Brood, once again, if Honey Queen can fit, Madame Brood can somehow. We have the rest of the Broodals with Spewart, Topper, Rango, and Harriet. If the Koopalings can be in there, why not throw them in there as well? You could have all the different Sprixies from Mario 3D World. You could have Cappy and his sister Tiara, which would be pretty cool. You could have Boom Boom and Pom Pom, which I think are going to be shoe-ins since they're in literally everything else. I don't know how they didn't make it to Mario Kart 8 Deluxe. What if you could be a T-Rex? Yeah, I know that sounds insane, but just, yeah, come on. How cool would that be to actually be the T-Rex within a kart? Or you could have some of the NPC characters from Odyssey, like the Lock Ladies, maybe the Steam Gardeners, Toasterenans would make a lot of sense, Bublanians, Volbanans, which are just forks or spoons. It would be kind of hard, but I could see it happening. We have Shavirians and maybe even a New Donker, where yes, you could seriously play as a human NPC. For this next batch of characters, get ready for some crazy spin-off picks. But what about adding some more babies? I know people hate all the babies from Mario Kart 8 Deluxe, but there's still baby Donkey Kong and even baby Wario they can choose. What if they just make a baby like they did with Rosalina and we have baby Waluigi or maybe even baby Pauline? Yeah, I know it sounds insane, but a baby rattle that's kind of shaped like a microphone just sounds like something Nintendo's gonna do. We also could have Bandit from the Yoshi's Island series. We could have more Kongs like Cranky Kong or even Kiddy Kong, which would be a completely weird cut, but I had to include them. What about Candy Kong or maybe even Tiny Kong make an appearance, or Chunky Kong or even Lanky Kong from Donkey Kong 64? Or what about just the big bad being King K. Rool or maybe even a Critter, since they do make appearances in things like the soccer games, which would make a lot of sense? Or what about Calypso, which would be a crazy throwback, because who in the world played Donkey Kong Barrel Blast? I did. Then we have some Wario characters, and when I say some, I mean a whole lot. For instance, Captain Syrup can make a return from Wario Land Shake It. Once again, yeah, I know it's a weird one. And you gotta have the Shake It King in there as well. What about Foreman Spike? Yeah, Foreman Spike from like the classic Wrecking Crew or even the Mario Brothers movie. Why not? Luigi from Luigi's Mansion can make a return, and just literally could be a Luigi alt. But what about Polterpup driving a kart? That'd be extremely cute. Prince Florian from Mario Wonder, he's a small caterpillar, but he could definitely do it if Wiggler can. And what about the Poplins, which could just be alts for Toads at the end of the day? We have Stella from Princess Peach Showtime, and even the main villain, Madame Grape, which is a pretty big villain, so I don't know if that would work, but why not? You could even have the Theets from Princess Peach Showtime, which are the little theater NPC characters. Goomba King or Goom Boss could make a return as an actual driver instead of a boss like in Mario Kart DS. And what about Tatanga from Mario Land? Then we have the WarioWare characters, which there's a good chunk of them. We have Cricket and Mantis, 9V and his friend 18V, and even 9V's mom, 5V could be a racer. Mona, that could be a pizza delivery racer, which we've actually seen her on like her little scooter, so that kind of makes sense. Dribble and Spitz could be together in like a taxi cart. We have Crygor and Penny. We have Mike, and we have Kat and Anna that can share a cart together. What about Jimmy T, or maybe even Ashley and Red that can drive in one cart together? Orbeline can have like a little pig UFO type of cart. And what about the new character Lulu and even Piero? No, not the leaker. Then we have Princess Shakura from Wario Land 4. Yes, once again, a extreme stray, but I had to add her nevertheless. And we have the viruses from Dr. Mario. What if we could drive as all three of them and they switch every time you take damage? That could be really cool. Here's another small batch of random characters like from Mario Brothers 2 and even Luigi's Mansion, but we have Koopa Kid from Mario Party, which is a weird one that we haven't seen in a very long time. They're like weird looking Bowser Jr.'s to me, and I don't know how I feel about them, but why not bring them back? We have King Wart, which is the main villain from Mario Brothers 2. We could have Mauser, Clyde from that game, which were also bosses. We have Reznor, and I just love this one that someone came up with, which is just literally the Reznor wheel in a cart, which is hilarious. I think it'd just probably be one of the dinosaurs in the cart, but still, this is great. Helen Gravely, which was the main antagonist kind of Luigi's Mansion 3. It was her and King Boo, so I would love to see her actually become a racer. Maybe even Baby Chauncey from the first game, or Melody Pianissima, or even Vincent Van Gogh, which seemed to be the main popular portrait ghost from that game. And for Luigi's Mansion 3, I feel like Cruller would be a really cool choice. I don't know about anybody else, but I feel like Cruller is the one that definitely stood out, or maybe even Morty from that game. But this chunk of characters is probably the one that's the heftiest. And if you know anything about Mario RPGs, you know this batch is about to be insane. So I had to at least limit what I had at first, because it was over like 80 different characters. So I kind of chopped it down to more reasonable ones, but even these may not be that reasonable. But let's start off with Mario RPG. Of course, everybody's boy, Geno. We gotta have Geno in this game. Or what about Mallow, which are the only two brand new partners that we got in that game, and I think they both make sense. You could even have Booster in that game, which would be hilarious, kind of like this Wario style of character, or maybe even Boshi, which should just straight up be a Yoshi alt, but the Axum Rangers could be another cool choice where you could choose which color you want to be. And then we move on to Mario and Luigi, which gives us Cackletta, the main villain, and Fawful. I think both of these would be great choices, especially Fawful, who actually comes back as another villain again in Bowser's Inside Story as the main one, and one of my favorite Mario villains. We have Queen Bean. Once again, if Queen Bee can fit in a cart, so can Queen Bean. We have Prince Peasley, which is the kind of hero of that land. We have Popple, and well, Rookie is already Bowser, so just give us Popple. We could have a Shroob driving a cart, which is just kind of a purple toad if you think about it, and Princess Shroob, which is the kind of evil queen. Once again, a character that I think would work really well. And if we have Princess Shroob, why not just throw in Elder Shroob as well, the bigger sister? Kylie Koopa could be another type of Koopa Troopa alt, or maybe just an additional character. We could have Starlo, which is a main partner character for Mario and Luigi, even returning in Brothership. We could have Midbus, which could be a cool like rival for Bowser to see that. Braque Monsieur, which is the French block character. I would like to see him in mainline games too, so hopefully he just returns, period. But we have Dark Bowser, maybe even the Dark Star could make a return. Dreambert from Dream Team, and the villain Phantasma. And we can't forget about the two main important characters from Brothership, being Connie and Snoutlet. And now it's time for the Paper Mario characters. We could have straight up Paper Mario. I think that would be really cool to have a paper version of Mario on the track with his own paper cart, or cardboard paper mache cart type of thing. There's a lot of partners to go through, so you could have Goombario and maybe a Goombella alt, a Koops with a Cooper and Parakarry alt, Bombette with an Admiral Bobbery alt, or maybe just these are alts for a Bob-omb character. We could have Bo, which could be an original character, or maybe an alt for a Boo. We have Watt, we have Lackluster, which can be an alt for Lakitu. We have Sushi, which would be our first time ever having a fish or any type of Cheep in the game. We could have Yoshi Kid from the Thousand Year Door, and even Mrs. Mouse from that game, and of course, everyone's favorite sidekick, Vivian from the Thousand Year Door as well. Some other Paper Mario characters include Olivia and Ollie from the Origami King, and we can have some of the villains from Super Paper Mario like Count Bleck, Mimi, O-Chunks, Dementio, and I think all of them could be some really cool racers as they have a lot of character in that game. But this would never happen in history, so moving on. A couple other Paper Mario characters we have is Flavio from the Thousand Year Door. He's a weird guy but would be a fun racer. Pennington, which was the penguin detective from the Thousand Year Door. We also have Lord Crump, or maybe even his boss Sir Grotus, or the minions being the X-Nauts being as playable drivers, and of course the King of the Ring, Rock Hawk himself. Now I have one more grouping of characters for you guys, and this is the part where I feel like a lot of people just hate hearing this, because there's a lot of Nintendo Kart haters out there. But if this is the next installment of Mario Kart being Mario Kart 9 or 10, whatever Nintendo wants to call it, they're probably going to continue with what they started from Mario Kart 8 Deluxe, where they did add some characters outside of the Mario universe. So I would love to see a couple more actually make some guest appearances in this game. Once again, I am not saying that all these characters should happen, but a good chunk of them would be really cool. But on my list, of course, we have to have Kirby. Kirby just like feels like he has to be there. Zelda, Animal Crossing, and Splatoon getting reps in the game. How in the world did Kirby miss the cut? I would love to even see a track based on Dreamland or something would be awesome. You could have Samus. Yes, she has an arm cannon. They could make it work, or just give her 2 arms just for the sake of Mario Kart. We have Fox, which would be a really cool one as well, since he flies R-Wings. Maybe you can have like a little R-Wing cart. And the same thing with Falco. I don't know if I'd go with the whole Star Fox crew, but Fox and Falco definitely makes sense. We have Ness from Earthbound, which might be a stretch because Earthbound is really just a Smash Brothers thing at this point. We have Pikachu. I would love to see at least one Pokemon in the game, and I think Pikachu is the obvious pick there. Captain Falcon is another surprise that hasn't happened, considering the fact that he has a whole Blue Falcon cart and 2 tracks in Mario Kart 8 Deluxe. How is he not a playable racer? We have the ice climbers, which could both be in a cart together, which could be kind of cool, and they can like switch out every time you blow the horn or something. It'll switch who's driving. We could have Zelda. If we have Link, how do we not have Zelda? That one also was just kind of weird to me. And if you have Zelda, you kind of got to have Ganondorf. Just complete the whole trifecta of the whole Triforce there. If they want, they could throw in one Fire Emblem character, but I can already hear people getting mad, but maybe just go with somebody extremely basic like Marth. And the same thing with Xenoblade, just go with Shulk. I think that could be a cool option, and racing on Bionis and Mechanis could be really cool as well. Then you could have Mr. Game & Watch, which could be a cool throwback character, and the same thing with Duck Hunt as well. Maybe both of them can drive the cart, or the duck's just hanging off the back of the dog. Could be really awesome. You could have King DDD. I can't believe I completely forgot him with Kirby, but yes, King DDD just makes a lot of sense there. Same with Pit. Hopefully we get a new Kid Icarus game that could enforce this, but Olimar would be awesome as well. Having like Pikmin hang from the cart as well would be amazing. The Wii Fit Trainer would be great to have as just one of those weird characters, and Little Matt could be driving with his boxing gloves on, which would look strange, but it would be hilarious. And if we have Inklings, what if we just had some Octoling alts as well? I don't think that's a big deal. And then we move on to some characters that are outside of the Nintendo realm. And once again, I know some people might not like this, but hear me out with some of these. Banjo-Kazooie would make a lot of sense, being like that other 3D platformer that's finally joining everybody in Mario Kart, considering the fact that they were also in Diddy Kong Racing. Kind of makes sense. Pac-Man and Miss Pac-Man just make too much sense, considering the fact that the arcade machine is actually like a crossover between Namco and Nintendo, where you have Pac-Man characters and Mario characters, so Pac-Man would be an amazing addition to this game. Mega Man might be a little bit of a stretch, but I could definitely see it happening eventually, but Sonic, another one that just sounds like a shoo-in eventually, considering the fact that we have Mario and Sonic at the Olympic Games. Sonic is just like one of those always third-party characters in Smash Brothers. He's just kind of in there with Mario now. And then we could have Rayman or the Rabbids, which would make a lot of sense because we also have Rayman crossing over with Nintendo. We have 2 Rabbids games and even a Rayman DLC for the second Rabbids game, which is Sparks of Hope, so this character also isn't too insane to think about. And that's a total of 177 new racers that Nintendo could add to Mario Kart 9. Now I know a lot of these are just kind of far reaches and dreams, pipe dreams that will never happen from side series and spin-offs that Nintendo would probably never touch, like Paper Mario and Mario and Luigi, but one could only hope, and just showing that there's a lot of choices if Nintendo really wants to stretch this as far as they can and finally get outside of the main character cast list that we've been choosing from pretty much for so long. But even with this long exhaustive list, I'm sure some of you guys can even think of more characters that you would love to play as in Mario Kart, so definitely let me know in the comments down below what other characters would you like to join the race, and we'll just see probably really soon if any of these characters at all are actually going to happen. But make sure you leave a like and subscribe before you head out today, and like always, I'll see you all on the next one. See you guys.